selling premium without sales calls. So we all know you as the email marketing guy specifically, but really interesting from my point of view is the amount of premium coaching and consulting that you've sold through email without actually having to take any sales calls. So I would love you to just detail a little bit of the framework around how it works, how you make it work, so that the listeners can glean some takeaways in which they can use more email and other strategies other than taking back-to-back sales calls all day to sell premium coaching.
Yeah, 100%. I think the mistake a lot of people make with it is they miss the fact that a lot of it is the pre-framing. So there's so much relationship building that goes into it before you send over like a Google Doc or send someone to a sales page, because good copy can sell anything up to any price point really, but there's obviously a massive drop off once you get to a premium price point where for most people a sales call is the most effective way to get a good conversion rate. But for me, it's like, what are you doing in the build up to selling that premium price service, coaching product, whatever it is, in order that then you can literally send maybe even sometimes a 3 page, a 5 page Google Doc. It's not even like fancy graphics, it's not even any images on it, it's just a few pages of text. And that is really, it's the offer and it's how people perceive you as well. Because we will all have paid like thousands or tens of thousands of pounds or dollars for something without having a sales call in the past. So it is possible. It's just in the online space we kind of forget that and we go, "Oh, I need a sales call or I need like 20,000 words of sales copy." Actually, it's the unsexy answer, but a lot of the time it is, what have you done in the lead up to play the long game, to build your reputation, build trust and reciprocity, and then have that offer that in the actual written copy, all it's doing is taking people from point A to point A being current point to point B being the outcome they want, and you're showing them you've got a unique way of doing that. For me, I say it's as simple as that. It's as simple to explain as that. Obviously, there's nuance to it, but that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Excellent. And then when you say about pre-framing, is this the dynamite emails that I get from you on a weekly basis that you're probably I'm probably one of your highest open rates. I really enjoy when I see that an email from you has landed in the emails. I know it's going to be an interesting story. It's usually story based as well, and it's usually framed around something that is just like everyday life as well. What very often is. So is that what you mean by the pre-framing, the value that you and the connection that you've built ahead of the ask, as it were? Is it a bit, Gary V, jab jab jab, right hook type thing?
Pretty much. And there are multiple levels to that as well, as in you do need personality, but it can't be just personality. There are a lot of people out there who send really good emails and you'll like them and they're enjoyable to read, but you probably wouldn't pay them, maybe not even anything in some cases. Likewise, you need that authority that you can do what you say you do and you've got a track record. But if you've got the personality of a piece of dry toast, you're probably not going to have people want to buy into you. And I'm not saying that I'm like the most outgoing, exciting person ever. Like by my own admission, there are plenty of things about me that are quite dull and mundane. But I think you need to bring out your personality in that, and then drop in enough of the results you're also getting for people, because that's what people care about. It's like, is the person different? Do I trust them? Do I want to work with them? Yeah, so a lot of it is consistency as well, which is the whole. It's very boring to say, and I'm not saying you have to spend years and years doing it. There are ways you can fast track it, like you can borrow social proof, as in, can you be like recommended by someone? Have you got sort of credibility from like well-known media, well-known outlets? Have you been on podcasts, that kind of thing? They can all enhance what you're doing and fast track it. But for me, it is, yeah, you need to kind of do the hard work before you then make the sale, because there are loads of analogies to it, but the one I really like is that it's kind of like you're in golf, right? You're at the tee, and it's like you've got to take X many shots to get to the green, and all the shots you take to get up to that 2 foot putt to complete the hole, that's all the stuff you were doing before. So you can't expect to just like start on the green. You have to start at the tee, pay your dues to get to the green, and then you've got the easy sail, so to speak, at the end of it.
And what's the analogy for hitting it into the trees off the tee like 4 times before you actually hit the fairway?
That's probably bouncing around between.
I'm like forcing you to make that analogy work for the situation. No, that's just the reality of why I moved to probably the most golf centered place in the world of Florida and have never been on a golf course. Literally, I put my clubs into storage about a month ago. That tells you all about what I see myself as in terms of a golfer. Um, okay, right, that's great. Wait, when it comes to then those, you do your launches like once every, what is it, like 2 months or 3 months? Would that be right? Something along the lines of that?
Normally 3 or 4 a year, I'd say. So yeah, once every 3 to 4 months ish, generally.
Okay, and so. To what extent in between there, the emails that you send twice a week or 3 times a week or 4 times a week, to what extent are they value driven without any direct call to action, any way of working with you, buying from you, versus some emails that actually are more direct in that sense, or at least have a call to action to initiate a sales conversation. So what is there no sales in that 3 month period, or do you have subtle ways to get people to raise their hand for done for you jobs, or what does that look like?
I'd say probably 3/4 of what I do won't ever have a direct call to action in it. It will just be like think about this in your business, or if you've got any questions, let me know. The reason for that is because I like running more of a launch model, and I'm always upfront with people that my business is a bit different. Like as well as the core sales and product sales and kind of one-off consulting, I have monthly retainer clients as well. So like if I have a few months where I really don't make many sales of a course, it doesn't really matter to me because I've got regular income coming in anyway. If someone was in a different situation, I might change that and say, look, maybe you. I do think you can sell in every email if you want to. I don't think that it's a bad thing necessarily. It's just that for me, it suits my personality and way of doing things to have, like I said, in between launches, probably 75% of emails aren't doing any kind of direct selling. And I think if other people want to do that, that can work great as well. It's more like, what are you trying to get across between there? I think if you constantly go from I'm promoting this product hard to this product hard to this product hard, that's when it becomes an issue. Whereas if you go right 4 times a year, I'm going to launch something, whether it's the same thing just in cohorts, whether it's a new product or service each time, doesn't really matter. If you then need to make more sales in between, I think you can definitely do that just in like a more low key way. So is it that you send 4 emails a week and 2 are value driven, 2 have got sales in, or you do something like every Sunday is more of a direct sales email. Even like if you just make your PS have calls to action, like we call it the power PS sometimes. It's like PS number one, if you want my free thing, here it is. PS number two, if you want my low ticket thing, here it is. PS number three, if you want to work with me personally, here's an application form. Something like that can work great as well. But it's more like, what's the meat of the email? Are you giving enough value to people, which is kind of a word that gets thrown around a lot and often is misused a bit, but we all know what it means. Are you giving enough value to people whereby when you do go, hey, here's this thing, it's going to cost you some money, would you like it? People don't even really have to think about it. They just go, yeah, I like you, I like what you do, have this money, it's probably going to be good.
Yeah, I love that. So it's not just that it's like, well, it is from your point of view going to be really, really good copy, but it's also just because so much know, like, and trust is built that it's kind of like the people that buy, or many of the people that buy, are going to be somewhat gimmies because you've worked so much effort and value and connection into the stuff ahead of time, right? Um, can I ask, does anybody ever reply to the emails in which you have no call to action and ask you about options for working with you? Is that something that occurs as well, or is it very much the call to action emails in which all the action occurs?
Yeah, it does happen. Yeah, often what it will be is people who maybe at the last launch have got in touch and said, "Look, I really like the sound of this, but at the moment I can't afford it, or I'm doing another course, I'm working with someone else, something like that." And then you tend to find a month, 2 months down the line, they'll reach out and say, like, "Hey, is this thing still open?" Sometimes it is, sometimes it
Mm,
isn't. Sometimes it might be it's not, but next time round I'll give you a heads up before we go. So yeah, I definitely do get that a reasonable amount as well. And like you say, it's just because I think my mantra, and I do this with clients as well, has always been I'd rather pass up a sale today if it means that actually, 6 months down the line, that person comes back and then they buy multiple things in future because it was a better time for them to buy 6 months down the line. I know that sounds a bit like woo woo and everything, but I also genuinely believe it's better for profits as well. So it's not entirely altruistic. I think it works best for both parties when you like that.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Well, let's focus on then if you're gonna send 3 emails a week or 4 emails a week, and then you're gonna do launch mode and get tons of people over the line without having to even take sales calls. Probably the chicken and egg thing here is you're obviously going to have people on the email list first and foremost, people that you can actually connect with, share with, and build that know, like, and trust with ahead of any opportunity to buy from you. So from your point of view, what personally are you doing for growing your email list, and to what percentage is that fueled by ads, and to what percentage is that fueled by other means? I don't know if at the end of podcast you mention them or whatever. Like, what are some things outside of ads as well that you do?
Yes, at the moment it's fairly heavily fueled by ads. So I get roughly sort of 700 new leads a week coming in from paid ads. That obviously varies depending on how much budget I'm spending and all that kind of thing. But in the early days, I don't think I ran ads for my first 3 years of having an email list, I believe. And you will always need some way of getting people onto a list, right? So I think paid ads. Often people say, "Oh, don't do paid ads till you're at a certain level." I'm like, well, no. If you want to quickly grow your email list, it's the most predictable way to do it. So you probably should. I know I'm preaching to the preaching to the choir here, but it's a very smart way to do it if you have that budget. So I'm a huge fan of running paid ads. I think again, as you know, there are so many ways to do it that's a whole other topic in itself. But I also think that if you're not willing to run paid ads or you don't want to do that, there are loads of organic ways you can do it, whether you have got a following. And I think a really simple way to do that is just talk about what's going to be in the next email. Like, I've done it a lot, and I've maybe screenshot the subject line if it's been a really cool, intriguing subject line, and said, this email is dropping in 24 hours. If you want to be on the list, here's a link to join. And you're not going to get hundreds of people sign up, but depending on your social media following, you might get 5 people, 10 people, 50 people, whatever it is. You can always say, hey, this email got sent out last week and it got a great response. If you'd like me to forward it on, join the email list, let me know, I'll send it back to you, that kind of thing. You can do like mini organic lead magnets as well. I did one of those in right at the start of the first lockdown that did very well. I wrote up a big old Google doc that was about how I'd sold like a couple £100 worth of courses in the last year without any ads and without any sales calls. And I think that got about 300 people onto the list, and it was just very simple, one email autoresponder. People got that with the guide when they signed up. After that, they were pushed onto the main list. So there's loads of ways you can do it, and I think it's being consistent with it. So if podcasting is your thing and you like going on guest podcasts, make sure you promote the email list on that podcast. Not in like you don't have to talk about it all the time, but just make it known that the best way to get on your the best way to get value from you is on your email list. Like, write articles in local media where you link your email list at the end. Like, I think people often go, well, I don't want to run ads, therefore I need to put up with having a small email list. Like, no, do a bit of hustle to get your name out there, and just make sure your CTA is consistent.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, I don't know if you agree with this, but even from the point of view of knowing what paid ads can do for speed of email growth, direct ROIs from ads, all of those things. At the same time, there's also, like, not every single lead that you get, or not every single email subscriber you get, is created equally. And it's not that there's better leads or worse leads, whether they're from paid ads or not paid ads. It's that they're at a different stage very often. And so if you're running paid ads to complete strangers, and we do a warm campaign and a cold campaign, but if you focus on the cold campaign, that person's obviously entering your world as a newbie, and there is no like and trust to be built there. But if you can get 15 people that have already followed you for 2 years on socials to join your email list, you might just find at your next launch that 6 of them become clients. And if they had not been on the email list, they may not have ended up purchasing. So from my point of view, like, I massively see the value in what you're saying in terms of the things outside of advertising. I love 700 people a week coming onto your email list through ads, which is great. But I don't think it should be discredited, even if it is like I put some effort together and got 12 people on my email list. I think that's 12 good people who probably aren't going to unsubscribe and could be the people to bite your hand off at your next premium offer. So no, I'm definitely with that. in terms of like your weekly emails that you're sending, what kind of frequency are you at? Because from what I see on my side, I would say that you're very infrequent for somebody that teaches email marketing. So as in it looks like it's maybe 2 to 3 per week. Would that be right? Rather than it being like daily emails. And what's your thinking behind it, if I'm right with that?
Yes, you are 100% correct. So always a Tuesday email, always a Friday email, and then I'm dabbling with a Sunday email as well. More so just because I like writing, and I've dabbled on and off with the Sunday email over the years. I did them during lockdown because I was just very bored, basically. And then when I launched the podcast, I used to send an email linking to the podcast on a Sunday. If I'm honest, I didn't love sending that one because for me it was a bit of a boring email. So I now just try and link the podcast in other places. But the reason why I quite like a 2 to 3 week schedule is that my I'll preface this by saying I'm not against any schedule. Like if you love daily email and it does well for you, I think crack on and do it. If you do well with one email a week, also do that. I think consistency is more important than frequency. But I find that I can come up with really good ideas, or at least I think are really good ideas 2 or 3 times a week. I do think probably there is a creative limit for a lot of people, whereby if you're in the world of copy, marketing, writing words, whatever it is, and you're working with clients as well, I think that actually you maybe run the risk of sending lower quality stuff the more you write, and I want to make sure that my stuff kind of stays sharp and stays. I always want to make sure I've got enough energy to put effort into an email as well, rather than thinking, oh god, it's Thursday night and I've not sent out an email, so I better just put something together quickly and get it out for the sake of getting it out. The main reason I like it though is because I think it gives you leeway to up the frequency during a launch, and that then increases urgency, it increases scarcity a bit, it makes it feel more like an event. Whereas if you're already doing daily email, where do you go from there? Well, then you're emailing twice a day, you're emailing 3 times a day, which has never really vibe with my style. Again, some people do it really well. I'm a huge Ben Settle fan. I think he emails twice most days. Um, but then at the same time, very skilled, very successful, a guy like Daniel Thrussell, I just stopped opening his emails. So I'm like, there's just too much stuff here. It just feels like it's bombarding me all the time. Other people absolutely love that because that probably goes very well with his personality and the personality of his buyers. But I think if you sell to people the way you like to be sold to as well, I like people who email a few times a week because I think that's enough to enough for me to get something from them where I'm going to open most of their emails, but I'm not going to feel like, can you just go away now because you're boring me?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I I I personally do 6 emails per week, but the only people that can get all 6 are the people who are the most hyper engaged. So it's actually a very small amount of people. Do you do segmenting like that, or is it like because you only do 2 to 3 per week, it's kind of the entire list of, you know, have opened an email in the last 90 days or something?
More the latter, not because I'm against the former, just because I am too lazy to implement segmentation. And yeah, haven't got around to doing
I
it really.
I would
So
do the same as you though.
yeah.
I would 100% do the same as you if I was emailing less frequently, which I'm not against doing either. And I also think that what you said there about um whether you want to admit it or not, like your email quality can certainly go down if you're trying to fill spaces, especially if you have a really busy week and you're in the flow of having 5, 6, or 7 emails per week and you feel like you have to fill that space. If you're, you know, man, I usually have 3 hours to write my emails, but this week I'm strapped for time and I need to do it in an hour. You're kind of just like, what can I put out there
Mm.
more than anything? So, I'm definitely with that. And so, when it comes to when you're doing your launches, do you do segmentation for that, or does that go to the full list as well?
Generally goes to the full list. I do stuff that makes sure that the list is healthy. We've not got too many. We do like scrub it fairly frequently, all that kind of thing. Make sure that if people are in a certain sequence, they're not going to then get the launch stuff as well. Just obviously that complicates everything. But yeah, because I'm sort of fairly confident with the engagement of the people who get it, I don't do a whole lot in terms of segmentation. Again, it's like it's a horses for courses things. I've got clients who've got people on their team who are absolutely all over it, and it really works well. But for my business and in terms of systems and automations and stuff, I'm a fairly sort of basic guy, I suppose.
Oh, good. And when it comes to your ads, I mean, two sides that I want to look at. Like you're running ads that get 600-700 people per week to join your email list. I'm also interested before we dive into that. Are you running ads around the time of launch as well in any way, like to get people to apply or any remarketing to bring attention like back to you from the people who are likely receiving the emails? Is there anything you're doing there?
At the moment, not so much, because I've been focused on sort of pure list growth recently, because the funnel was getting a decent ROI just as an evergreen type offer. So it's a standard kind of ad to lead magnet. Off the lead magnet, they're offered to attend a free workshop, sell the course on the workshop, follow up emails also sell the course. If they buy, amazing. If they don't, they go onto the broadcast list. So yeah, I've been running that, and just it's been profitable again. I've not tinkered around too much with it, and my launches tend to only go to people who are already on that broadcast list or social media people as opposed to running ads at the same time.
Yeah, that's absolutely class. So it that free workshop, is that live or is that like an on demand they can click and watch?
Yeah, so we played around with a few bits. We played around with sort of the whole, starts in like 10, 15 minutes type thing.
Mm.
Played around with their like 24-hour access to it, all that kind of stuff, or just kind of click and watch it straight away. The one I've found tends to work best is the click and watch it straight away. I think I've just always been upfront about it with this is a recording because I think people got so burned out with the whole, oh, this is
Mhm.
live, and then it's obviously not live as markets kind of get savvy to things that yeah, as with a lot of stuff I do, I find that the more transparent you are with it, the better. So yeah, we just run it as like a hey, here's this recording, watch it. Yeah, that's it basically.
That's one that comes up all the time now. I did a 4 hour live workshop I don't know 2 weeks ago now or something like that. And we had a couple of hundred people there live. It was really, really great, highly engaged. People stayed until 4 hours and 15 minutes in. It was a great session. But about 3 hours in, one of the comments that went into the chat was that hot seat was amazing. It's great to know that this definitely isn't pre-recorded. And I was like, at 3 hours in, you were still wondering if I was like pretending to be live. It's the way the market sees those things is so poor, and we're inundated with people applying for the program who actually did have very successful businesses before running the evergreen webinars. Starts in 7 minutes. Aren't you so lucky to be here? And then it was like great business that wasn't quite as good the next year that then went to like really struggling and now they're like struggling to make any sales whatsoever. I'm like, it's just the market savvy to it. They don't need to be professional marketers to know what you're doing. And oh man, the thing I hate the most about it is the fact that people have actually written the comments and the names of the people and the
Mm.
locations that they're from to pop up at certain times so that they can be like, oh, so and so here from Romania, and this person's here from Bali. Isn't it so great to have an international business? You know what I mean? It's so savage. Oh man, I hate it. But anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent. So with the ads that you're running for growing the email list, what's the lead magnet? What's the thing that they're opting in for?
So until well, actually, no, I've recently changed. It's more of an update rather than a complete overhaul. Basically, this was the very boring description, but it's some copywriting templates. So the idea is that they get access to some free templates that they can put together and they can use to pitch for clients, or they can sell it as like a mini copywriting package in terms of if you've got a product, you're running ads, you've got an email list, but you're not making sales. Here's a very simple 3 to 4 email sequence that can put together for you. Obviously, now it includes all the AI stuff, the prompts, the research, that kind of thing. And then the free class off the back of that is essentially you've got these templates now. If you want to see where to find clients and how to pitch them and how to sign them, sign up for the free class. We'll show you how to do that. The one thing I was going to add on to what you just said about transparency there is quite interesting that I was running the same webinar, the automated one, for like 2.5 years and it's performing well. And then we decided, okay, going to kind of hire a studio, do it more professionally. We had like a double camera thing, so part of it was the screen, part of it was filming me doing the webinar, like professional sound quality, updated all the social proof because a lot of the social proof was from kind of 2021, I think, and that more professional version absolutely bombed. And we went back to the old one that was much more rough and ready. There was sort of a couple of bits in there, me going, "Oh, sorry, moved too quickly to that next slide," or mispronouncing some words. There were no edits in it whatsoever. Like a very basic Canva deck, and that one converted better again, which I think just goes to show sometimes people don't like stuff that's too polished.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, during the 4 hour one, I don't know. You probably can't see anything here anyway because we're on Riverside, so it sort of like cuts the our view, but the view might be wider on the official tracks. But my son walks up to the window here like every like 5 minutes with like a new book to show me. And during the 4 hour workshop, he was running around with shorts on and no top, and just like running up and like slamming the window, and everybody was laughing and that type of stuff versus the like hyper polished. I mean, you can't do too much of it. Like that's not tailored, but when it happens, that stuff goes down just
Yeah.
absolutely great. Especially in our market, like when you're working with people around business or marketing or anything like that, it's just like skepticism's so high,
Mm.
and like the unpolished stuff, I think that just does come across so well. Um, but what are you doing? Like outside of your advertising in general business wise, is there anything that you see as like a strategy that you're doing often now? Like I see that you're doing like in-person workshops, right?
Yeah, certainly. I think I've realised what I really enjoy doing, and a lot of that is I don't want to say low commitment, but I quite like just getting together with a person or a small group of people for a day, maybe 2 days, and then having people leave with like a really clear game plan as to what they're going to do. Like I really enjoy that, and I think people get a lot from it as well. I think sometimes when people buy it or sort of join something that's a long term commitment, at the start they're really highly motivated and they think, oh, I've got all the time in the world. And often it's that whole, Parkinson's law, the task expands to fit the time available. So if I can get
Mm,
someone in a room for a day and hash out a whole business plan, whether it's, got a business partner of mine who films content, we do stuff together, whether it's just kind of having a day with someone down here in Southampton, that kind of stuff, I get excited by it as well. I think it's nice to do in person stuff. Like I'm definitely more of an introvert. I'm perfectly happy to spend a whole day on my laptop, but at the same time, there's only so much of that you can do. So yeah, doing more of that kind of stuff. And also, I just think it's like, yeah, it's just a break from the norm as well to do that kind of thing. And I quite like bringing people together as well, even as an introvert, to get people together, making new friendships, that kind of thing. I feel that for me, fun is a big pillar of business as well, and I want to enjoy the vast majority of what I do. So actually, if I wake up one morning and go, do you know what, I don't really want to sell courses anymore, I don't really want to write emails anymore, then I'm probably going to look for a different thing to do that is more fun, really. So that's a very rambly answer, but yeah, it's kind of, I'm perfectly happy to experiment with stuff that I think is going to be interesting, I suppose, is the best way to put that.
yeah, I love that. But where are you doing those? Are you doing those in the UK?
Yes, I've actually got one next week up in Glasgow, but that was just because I was going up to
Cool.
Glasgow anyway. So reached out to an ex-student of mine, Chris, who's based up there, and just said, "Do you fancy putting on a workshop together?" So we're doing just a small half-day thing. But yeah, surprisingly, I mean, as Brits, we don't like to travel too much, but I've been doing a bit more down here in Southampton just because it's actually not too difficult for people to get to. We've got some nice venues near here, like we've got the New Forest. It's not too bad to get here from London, from the Midlands, from the Southwest. So yeah, just been kind of doing them around here again. Just yeah, quite fun. Really, I tend to avoid London, not because I dislike London, just because it's like I can't be bothered to go to London. Really, is
Yeah.
the main reason. But yeah, if people are willing to travel, then I think it's odd. It's kind of how it's framed, right? I've done sort of whole day consults with people on Zoom that have just been incredibly draining. Whereas you can spend a whole day with someone in person, and you leave that day feeling amped up, energized. You've done exactly the same work, but just the difference between the back and forth in person energy versus sitting on a screen for 6, 7 hours.
Yeah, 100%. And do you run your ads in the US as well as UK?
So we're going more to the US now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, what it found was the UK one's doing well, and then over time, sort of just started to slightly drop off. US ones is a very basic experiment. I just put everything up, still with the stuff in pounds rather than dollars, and the cost to acquire leads was so much lower. The sales were lower as well, I think, because generalizing Americans don't really understand pounds. But the next
Hmm.
stage now is I've got all the funnel up in dollars, and we're actually launching it probably early next week to see how that performs like that. Because I think, again, I don't know if this mirrors your experience, but for me, Americans still have that American dream mindset. It's still very much they want the freedom and autonomy, less skepticism compared to us Brits. So my prediction is that should do quite well, but obviously the
Hmm.
proof will be in the testing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I always find the same thing with my own ads. We've probably got more people from the US signing up these days than ever before. But in terms of money in versus money out in our advertising, the UK market is a much higher cost per lead than the US, but the ROIs are actually still stronger. And so it's one of those ones where we're not really trying to tweak too much with the US market. We allocate a percentage of the ad budget that is appropriate for what we're doing there, as in like the type of ROIs that we get versus it would be better to allocate most of the budget to the UK. And the reason why I don't just put all the money into where the highest ROIs are is because there's some unknowns in there, which is what does the UK market immediately return? What does it return over time? And the US market, what does it return immediately? And what does that return over time? And so, for all I know, the US opt-ins may be much higher engaged, might actually um, be better buyers in the long term and create long-term ROI. And, I actually live in the US, so if I ever want to do, in-person workshops, for instance, here, then it could be great for that type of thing also. So, yeah. But I've got a very, very similar experience. The reason I ask is obviously you're coming out October for Systems of Scale get together that we're going to be doing here. You'll be doing a session or a workshop with our clients, which is going to be great. Like you could easily just run your own workshop whilst you're here as well. Like if you've got emails from the US, you could potentially you potentially already have them segmented, or you could segment them and hit them up with, are you in the US? I'm going to be coming in October. Literally at this point, just looking for a thumbs up. I mean, I don't need to tell you what to say. You use you're the guy with the words, so I won't tell you. But in my head, that's what I would do. And if I got a shit ton of replies, then I would definitely be hosting a workshop when you're out here. If you like doing them the way that you've been doing them in the UK.
Yeah, and I think that's where sometimes people overanalyze what it takes to put out an offer, and they emotionally attach themselves like, "Oh, this has to go well." Whereas I'm like, "Well, as you said there, put out. Most people would refer to it as a hand raise, and it's literally like raise your hand if you might be interested in this, and you can get them on a wait list. Like I've done stuff before where we've said, "Look, it's probably going to be in roughly in this place, roughly this time, and it's going to be roughly this amount. Would you be interested?" And if people aren't interested, like that's fine. That's just saved you some effort. You've learned something that either people aren't interested, or either you don't have the audience in that area, or people just aren't really interested in that thing that you're offering. But that's a benefit because you've
Mhm.
learned a lesson from it. Whereas if they are interested in it, cool. You might have a sell tickets at 500 quid, $500. You get a few people, you made a few grand. Like it's a very easy offer and it's fun to do. Like you don't have to. Not every single launch you put out has to be a full blown launch, and not every single thing you do like that has to be a home run success. Like you can put out interest and might not get any. It's not the end of the world. You just send your next email about something different.
Yeah, no, 100%. It, I'm interested to hear, do you run the same ad copy in the US and the UK, or have you had to make it US sort of language and angles and things of that nature?
Yeah, always make sure I use US spellings for US stuff, and obviously US words where there are discrepancies between the two. And then typically I find the more dream based copy, the more outcome based copy works a bit better with the US, whereas the UK it's more about objection handling, I guess, and maybe being a bit more upfront. Like I'll run ads that say things like "This is an ad." If that offends you, just keep scrolling to the UK. Again, some people still get triggered by that, but that's fine. Whereas the US, I think that stuff can still work, but I just don't think it's as necessary sometimes or as effective because a lot of people just don't have that built-in skepticism and they don't automatically assume that everything online is a scam as people in Britain can do.
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, I had an interesting one. I think I might have said this to you before, but I had an interesting one when we were running our lead magnet, not the live workshop. The live workshop, I actually made them very similar, other than spellings. Um, but for our lead magnet, it was quite interesting. I ran the same ads in the UK and the US, but the way that we do it is there's a mix of 5 images and videos, and 4 of them were image based, and they're all different. And one of the images was me at our Miami mastermind, which was on a yacht. And so we were out at sea masterminding. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience, and we all really enjoyed it. But that sort of like image of us on a yacht masterminding was the lowest cost per lead by an absolute mile in the US, and in the UK, it was crazy. It was like £19 a lead or something. It was like people hated it. The stuff people were commenting on it was crazy. And then I've got another image that was there, which was me actually holding my son at Disney World. And so it's like back to him, so like you don't see his face and stuff, but it's still me like walking with my son. And that one in the UK was my highest performer by an absolute mile. But in the US, it actually didn't work at all, and it was like flipping the script. I don't think it was like £19 per lead, but it was like I don't know £8 per lead or something, where everything else was running at like ones and twos. And it was very interesting to see how that played out
Mm.
between the UK and the US market. And a lot of the things that we probably see, both of us, on our news feeds, just with the market that we're in, is if it's like a US based coach, it'll be really high numbers, really high outcome driven type videos, really high energy. And the people who are kind of killing it in the UK are very often the people who come across more casual, less polished, as you said as well, and sort of like the, you know, walk and talks to your iPhone, can actually perform really well in the UK as well. Um, is there anything else you've seen with like going international, as it were, with advertising or anything else that you've seen as like a key takeaway, in terms of like selling to the US market or selling to the Australian market, or anything else that people might be able to take away?
I think probably just to mirror what you said. So I was at a mastermind back in April, and one of the guys there was talking about what he was seeing within his agency, and it was kind of quite similar to that. He said that a lot of the kind of lifestyle type stuff is working really well for him for his US clients. So he said you might hate it, but there is a reason why that the picture with a sports car in the background does really well, or a fancy hotel in the background. Obviously you've got to have some substance behind it. There's got to be like a good offer and all that kind of stuff. But then equally, he said that, interestingly, on the flip side, no, he didn't say this, but I'd imagine this is maybe the more skeptical markets. He said that traditional sort of influencer and celebrity marketing isn't working as well, and it's more like the real world influencers who are doing well with their marketing. So it's like, rather than find a person who's got 1 million people on Instagram, finding someone who's got like 20,000, they have much higher conversions because they feel more like a normal person. So when they use a product and they do like whether it's an unboxing or just here's my whatever it is water bottle I'm drinking from today, they do really well because people see them as real people like them. Like I said, he didn't say that specifically UK, but my thinking to extrapolate on that would be, okay, if I'm going to do a campaign in the UK, do I want a major celebrity to promote it? Obviously, there are the benefits to that. or do I want like 100 micro influencer type people to promote it? I would guess maybe the 100 micro influencer people would return a better ROI on the whole because it does feel that bit more believable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. When we did, and obviously we had you come up to it. It's how we kind of met back in the day, is running the large fitness events with thousands of people attending, and as we grew the event, and we had more budget each year for like celebrities and influencers, etc., to come to the show. It was very interesting because we were able to track this because everybody had like their own code for tickets and things like that as well. Whenever we had this was like such a major mistake, but it's a lesson that everybody can benefit from. We spent some crazy amounts on getting a few extremely big I'm talking about like 8 to 30 million followers on IG. Some were UK based actually, but most of them were US based. So that came with like I will only fly first class, and I need two friends and my agent to also come with me, and and then there's also the fee, and then so it was bananas. Um, and whenever those announcements would go out, by them, the likes on it would be like 2.5 million likes, but there would be like 16 ticket sales at £17.50. And then when the person who is like you say about like the micro influencers, so they've got like 11,000 followers, and they live in Manchester, and everybody who's into fitness in Manchester and surrounding areas like knows them really well, like loves the fact that they're local and all that stuff. When they would come and they would post about it, we would sell 220 tickets when they did a social media post. And it was crazy. Like that was a lesson I had to learn by literally like being forced to learn it in a very, very bad way. I assumed it was like first social media post, we'll make our money back, and it's all good. It was not the case. And yeah, I mean even back then I think that it was something that was already in effect that just a lot of people didn't realize, was that really, really high numbers does not always equate to the highest income that can be generated from things, and celebrity status does not always mean great businesses. But my goodness, how that has taken shape over the last like 3 years with high skepticism, I think is crazy. Like it's had such a high impact.
Yeah, and I certainly think that it was probably about 3 months ago. I think I put out one of the hand raiser type posts I mentioned to get some consulting clients in, and we had a couple of guys reach out to us who weren't in the million follower range, but I think one had about 150k and the other one's about 350k, and the one because I sort of put them through a questionnaire. And the one was making under $1,000 a month, and the other one was like $2,500 a month with 350,000 followers. And you're like,
Mhm.
something is not right there. And their engagement was great, but it was just what they were posting was I mean, they didn't really have an offer. Like they offered coaching, but it wasn't differentiated. All their posts were done. You could see they'd sort of done something that had gone semi-viral, and then the next 2 weeks of posts were trying to just mirror that and rinse every last ounce of engagement out of it possible. And you're like, I get that because I get that there's a dopamine hit, and very, very few of us are immune to that. But it was all like they're both in fitness. It was all the whole what I eat in a day videos. Here's how you should do your bicep curls differently. With calls to action like DM me for coaching, or drop me a message with whatever word to find out more. But you're like, there's a big disconnect there, and it is very cliche because we all go on about it, but it's still true. The fact that likes and followers are not the same as an income, and that's proven perfectly with the expo stuff with loads and loads of likes and not many tickets.
That's a fantastic place for us to close this out, Mike. I would love it if you shared where people can find you and come onto the email list and go through the experience of buying from you without a sales call, so that they can become absolutely incredible at email marketing as well. So, what's the best places where people can find you?
Yeah, definitely. So, best couple of places are website is copywithmike.com. It's nice and simple. or Instagram is probably the best social media. It's the Coffee Shop Copywriter, all one word. And yeah, I'm always open to answering questions. So just drop me a message on either of those places.
Excellent. Well, happy days. Thanks so much for being here, my man. We'll definitely get you back on. Hopefully, it's in person. We get an episode filmed together here when you come out in October. But yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And of course, if anybody wants easy access to those links, I'll drop it in the description below if we're on YouTube, and then also on Apple Podcasts as well. But thanks so much, my man. Really appreciate you.
Love it. Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.